Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hari Hari, Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Prabhu has instructed me to speak something. Lila is one of my favorite most services is to obey his wishes. So grateful for all of you for being here this evening. Tonight is the full moon, Purnima. And in our devotional calendar, there are two very special festivals that we honor on this full moon night. It is the night of Lord Balarama's Rasa Lila at Ramghat in Vrindavan, and it is the appearance day of Hanuman. I'll speak very briefly, that's my intent, on both of these subjects in a way to connect them. Have you thought of how to do that? There's connection to everything, so hopefully it will be revealed. When Krishna was a little less than 11 years old, he left Vrindavan. The circumstances are a beautiful long story. But when he left, his devotees, especially Sri Radha, his eternal loving consort, and Nanda and Yashoda, his eternal loving mother and father, and the gopas and the gopis and the cows and the peacocks and the trees, everyone. They were in such deep separation from him. In spiritual love, we understand that we can never be separated from God. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshya janatishya. And Krishna, or our supreme object of love, is forever in our hearts. And nothing can change that. We can forget God's presence in our heart. And we can forget how God's presence is in the heart of every living being. And that forgetfulness is the source of all suffering. It's what cheats us of understanding the eternal love that is our real potential and our nature. Srila Prabhupada explained that God consciousness or Krishna consciousness is the original natural consciousness of everyone. It can never be lost, but it can be forgotten. Like in a dream, we identify with all these worldly things, but we forget who we are and what our real purpose is. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharat. But the Lord within our heart never forgets us and appears within this world through so many incarnations, through so many saints, through so many holy books, to remind us. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go from place to place, house to house, village to village, town to town. Jeev Jago, Goda Chandra Bole, Kota Nijatra, Jayo Maya Pisa Chira Bole. Simple message, wake up sleeping souls. Your illusions are causing so many problems in your own heart, your own mind, and that's causing so many problems in the world. But Krishna comes to remind us, in the spiritual love, when we actually love God, feelings of separation doesn't separate us. It only increases the intensity of our love. We are embracing our beloved within, and our beloved is embracing us from within. When the residents of Vrindavan were with Krishna, in a physical way, performing so many beautiful pastimes of love, the love of their hearts were pouring incessantly, unlimitedly to Krishna. But when Krishna apparently left from Mathura and then Dwarka, that he wasn't there, so that love went inwardly, deeper and deeper and deeper in their hearts, where that reciprocation was taking place. So Vipralamba, or Viraha, and Sambhog, separation and meeting, are dynamics on the spiritual level that simply are ever increasing the sweetness of the exchange between the soul and God, and between souls and each other. We have those relationships with each other also when we realize our own spiritual quality. So Krishna left Vrindavan, and everyone was crying, and everyone was hoping he would return. In fact, Sri Radha and Gopis, they would make garlands and nice prasad what Krishna liked best, expecting him to come every day. But he didn't come. But they just lived their lives in that expectation. So from Dwarka, Krishna sent Balarama. Balarama is his first expansion. Now, because it's a kirtan program, I don't want to get into too much philosophy. But I like to do it anyway. What does it mean, God's expansion? Balarama is supreme personality of servitor, Godhead. And Sri Radha is the Vladini Shakti, the feminine expansion of the one supreme truth. And so many avatars. It's quite easy to understand. Janmadya Shagataha. The definition of God in the Vedanta Sutra, and in most every religious scripture, is the source of everything, from whom everything emanates. The cause of all causes, sarva karana karana. So every living being is an expansion of God, in the sense that He's the origin of all of us. We're all coming from that one supreme truth. Who's supremely beautiful, supremely loving, and supremely powerful. We see in this world the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the oceans, the mountains, so many different kinds of living entities, so many varieties of insects. You come to India, you'll see you meet some new types of insects. And they'll meet you also. So many types of fish. So many types of birds and reptiles and animals and so many types of humans. Incredible variegatedness. And we only understand kind of just a tiny bit of what's on this little speck of a planet Earth. Not to speak of the universe, not to speak of the cosmic manifestation and the creation. And they're all coming from the same source. So if God wants to expand himself for Lilas, for beautiful pastimes of love, and to remind us of the love that we have forgotten. It's really easy to understand. So Balarama was sent to Vrindavan to deliver Krishna's message to all his loving devotees. A message of love in their separation. And he stayed there 2 months, and he performed on these moonlit nights beautiful dancing with his most beloved devotees. It is in the sense of the appearance of Hanuman. He was also sent on a similar mission as a messenger. The particular raga or melody that I tried to sing just before speaking is very special to me. In 1971, I was living in Vrindavan, and I would lay down to sleep at night in the forest, and I would hear this melody sung all night, every night. It was so beautiful. Now, in those days, there was no cars, there was hardly any shops, there was no hotels. Vrindavan is very different than today. It was a simple forest with some ashrams and many temples. And there was no traffic. And practically all the roads were just little sandy, muddy roads. And everyone would say, Jai Shri Radhe, or Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. And they meant it. They were trying to get something from you. They were just giving their love. So in those nights, when I would lay down, looking up at the beautiful stars and the beautiful moon and hearing the current of the Yamuna flowing, and there would be peacocks calling and parrots chirping. It was so beautiful. And I would hear the guards. The guards would call to each other at night to keep each other awake. And they all had the same call. One would go, Radhe Shyam. And then you'd hear somebody answering from a distance further, Radhe Shyam. And you'd hear from another guard, Radhe Shyam. This is all night. The birds are singing, the parrots are calling, the river's flowing, the crickets are having their little kirtan. And guards are calling Radhe Shyam. There's no thieves, they're just doing it because they love to chant the God's names in those days. And this melody was being sung on a speaker. I don't know where it was from, but it was so sweet. It sounded like an old man singing one part, and then an old lady singing the next part, and they were trading off. And I just loved this. I would just listen. It goes so deep into my mind and deep into my heart. I just felt Krishna. Radha, and devotion was beautiful. And one day, or one night, I did the parikrama of walking around the whole village of Vrindavan. And as I was walking, I heard this melody. And as I walked, it was getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And then I came to the place where this old Brijavasi lady and old Brijavasi man were singing it. And it happened to be inside a temple of Hanuman. And I was very happy. I thanked Hanuman. Interesting. The first recorded tape I ever heard of my beloved Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Because when I was in India, I didn't have a tape recorder. I didn't have a camera. There was no cell phones. So the whole time I was in India, I never heard a tape recorder. But when I went to Europe after my visa expired, I was at a temple in Amsterdam. And when I came in the middle of the night, first time, there was a tape playing. And it was Srila Prabhupada singing this melody, this raga. So I remembered it tonight. How many of you know the story of Ramayana? Please raise your hands. It's 24,000 verses. But I'm really going to fast forward and go. In Lila, Ram first met Sita. Ram is the Supreme Lord of all religions, who we call Krishna also. He lived long ago. And Ramayana is the story of this incarnation. And Sita is the feminine divinity. She is the female aspect of God. They are one, but for the purpose of exchanging pure spiritual love, they are two. Sita is the compassionate, loving potency of the Absolute Truth. And they perform beautiful pastimes in this world to attract our hearts. And if they just did very mighty, powerful, creating destruction, rectifying wicked, which they do sometimes, the intimacy of love doesn't grow in our hearts the same way. So these pastimes are so real, but they appear to be very human in the sense of lover and beloved and the various challenges of love which are in this world to attract our hearts to cry for them even. So Sita is the very personification of all sweetness, tenderness, kindness. Her and Ram were banished to the forest, and they lived so happily in the forest. The birds and the trees and the yogis and sadhus and the banks of the Mandakini, Ganga and Chitrakoot. That place is still there. And later in Nasik or Panchavati, Sita was kidnapped, abducted by Ravana, who was the personification of selfishness, arrogance, envy, lust, and greed. He cruelly took her away when Ram and his brother Lakshman were not there. And he took her to Sri Lanka, an island in the sea. When Ram returned, he was looking everywhere for her, but he couldn't find her. He walked all the way from Nasik, which is just close to Mumbai, practically 1,000 kilometers he walked. And he came to Kishkinda, which is the home of Hanuman. In fact, it's the birthplace of Hanuman. He was born to Anjana, his mother, and Keshaviraj, his father. And he was brought to this earth by Vayu and Shiva. It's a really interesting story. Come next week and I'll try. Hanuman met Ram there. And Hanuman and all of his associates, his community headed by Sugriva, committed themselves to helping Ram find Sita. And when it came for the search to begin, so many were going in all the four directions because actually they had no idea where she was. Now you may ask, if God knows everything, how could he not know where she was? If God is unlimited, if he wants, he could not know something. And at the same time know it. Now you can't do that. I can't do that. But God can do that. To increase love. So as they were all being dispatched in the 8 directions, Ram, who was living in a cave, it's called Madhyavanta or Prashravana, it's still there. Just last year, I went to that cave. Ram lived there for about 5 months. And he was telling all of these Vanaras, they're like kind of divine monkeys, Hanuman's community, how much he was day and night weeping in separation from Sita. In fact, in that cave, even today, there's a Murti of Ram, which is very ancient. It's a stone deity. And in Ram's right hand, there's beads, chanting beads, Tapala. And his left hand is touching his heart. Because day and night he was chanting Sita's names and meditating upon her names. So Hanuman saw this. What is Ram's love for the beloved who is separated from him? So as they were about to leave, Ram called Hanuman and said, because of your devotion, because of your compassion, I believe of everyone, you're the one who's going to find Sita. And she's going to be in so much of the ecstasy of pain and separation that she may not believe who you are. He took off his own ring, the wedding ring that Sita gave him, and said, I'm entrusting you with this ring. And when you see Sita, if you give her this ring, she will know that you are my messenger. So someone to this north, someone to this east, someone to the west, Hanuman went south. Southeast. And they just couldn't find a clue. And Angada, who was kind of the leader of that search party, he was so sad. How could we go back without any news? So he decided, I'm just going to fast and lay down. And everyone just fasted and waited. And this giant bird, he said, oh, it looks like food. And they were too weak and everything because they were fasting. And one of them just said it looks like, just like Jatayu passed away in the service and Ram trying to protect Sita, it looks like we're going to be same thing. And that bird said, Jatayu, he's my brother. My name is Sampati. Jatayu's my little brother. And he told so many stories. And they explained what happened. And Sampati, he said, I don't have any wings, so I can't fly, but I can still see really good. And I'm really old, so I just sit here for a long time. And I could see 800 miles, 100 yojanas across the sea. There's an island called Sri Lanka. And on the Trikuta Hill, there's a garden. And I see Sita weeping and crying in separation from Ram. She has been kidnapped, as Jatayu has told you, my brother, and she's imprisoned by Ravana. So they found out, and they went to the ocean. And now, out across the ocean, and they were trying to decide. Angada, he said, I might be able to jump that far, but I won't be able to get back. And Jambalan, who was a very, very old, he was the king of the bears, very elder. He said, when I was young, I could fly around the world, but now I'm very old. I can't do it. And everyone was trying to express how far they could go. And Hanuman was sitting quietly. Jambalan said, Hanuman, when you were just a little baby, you saw the sun and thought it was fruit. And you jumped to eat it. And you jumped it. You went hundreds of thousands of miles. You were going toward the sun, and the sun planet was so afraid that you were going to eat it that Indra shot. He threw a thunderbolt to hit you in the chin, and you fell unconscious. And Vayu, the Lord of the Wind, didn't like that because he's your father. So he withdrew the wind, which means there was no circulation of air. So nobody could breathe. So the Devas and Indra, they all begged apologies, and they Brahma brought Hanuman back to consciousness, and they all gave him special boons and blessings and powers. He said, because you were so restless that you had all these powers, you were so mischievous as a little boy. It was all nice mischief, but still it was mischief. You would see yogis doing their asanas, and you would jump on them. They would be in the water trying to do their oblations or their Gayatri mantras, and you would just go and grab their feet, jump on them, and spit on them. So, on the request of your mother and father, they gave you a boon. That you would forget all your powers unless somebody reminded you. So I'm reminding you. And Hanuman said, yes, I can cross the ocean. And he went to the Mahendra mountain. It's a beautiful story. I'm going to do it really short. He roared, Jai Ram, and meditated on the beautiful name of Ram. And by meditating on the name of Ram, with true devotion and true humility, we become supernaturally well. You see, if we want to understand Hanuman, it's not that he was just a strong person. It's not that he was just a fast person. It's that he was the personification of Sharanagati, of total humility, taking shelter of the supreme power of Bhagavan. When he chanted Ram's names, all the powers of the absolute truth were coming into him. And he just chanted, Jai Ram, no ego at all, and jumped. And when he jumped, the whole mountain kind of sunk into the earth. That was the power of his feet. He was flying through the air with such force and such speed. And he was actually in total samadhi, meditating on the names of Ram and experiencing the form of Ram, the qualities of Ram, the pastimes of Ram, the love of Ram as he was meditating on the holy names. There were many obstacles that came. First, the ocean. Samudra is the lord of the ocean. He wanted to render service to Hanuman because he was flying a long time. He needs some rest. Where do you rest when you're crossing an ocean? So he called the Manaka mountain, gigantic mountain, to rise from the bottom of the ocean and come and invite Hanuman, please, there's nice fruits and vegetables and everything, and come and rest for some time and have prasad. Hanuman, he said, I am Sita. Sita is suffering. How can I think of resting or having prasad? I have my duty to perform, to deliver her a message. But at the same time, you're offering her with such graciousness, I can't refuse, but I don't have time to accept. So he touched the top of the mountain with his hand, and he said, I accept the intention of your offering. And then he flies. And the Devas wanted to test Hanuman. So they sent the mother of the Nagas. Her name was Suras. She appeared out of the ocean, and she opened her mouth. It was gigantic. And she said to Hanuman, I have received a boon from Brahma that no one can ever pass me without me devouring them. And I have come to devour you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And she made her mouth really big. And Hanuman made himself bigger. So he had these mystic cities. Lakima, Mahima, Anima, different cities. You can become very big, you can become very small. So he was becoming bigger and bigger, and her mouth was becoming bigger and bigger, and he was becoming bigger, and she was becoming bigger. And then he became instantly the size of a little thumb. And he walked in her mouth. And he went down to her throat. And walked around and explored. And then he came out. And he said, now you have fulfilled your boon, so please let me pass. And she said, that was really intelligent. She said, pass, I give you all blessings and all benedictions that you will be successful in your mission. And he kept flying across, and all of a sudden he was flying, he was stuck in the air, he couldn't move. And he looked down. Simika, very demoniac personality, had the mystic power where she could grab onto his shadow and stop him. So he was stuck. And then when she stopped him, she came out and opened her mouth to devour him. And she was really wicked. And she was really a murderous person. So he just took a little size and ran inside her mouth. And she was really happy to see us swallowed. Then he ran down her throat. And then he ran, down into her body and ran to where her heart was and went and she fell in the ocean. And he continued his journey. Now these two obstacles are obstacles that we all have. Hanuman is teaching us how to face them and overcome them. With Suras, she represents Ahankar, the false ego. It's a big obstacle on the spiritual path. It's within us, coming to devour us. And Hanuman taught the way to overcome that is through humility. He became super small through seva, through humble service. We can overcome the arrogant tendencies that we have. And Sanika represents the fault-finding tendency. She grabbed on to the shadow, to the dark side of Hanuman. So some of us have that tendency, because everyone has good qualities, everyone has negative, dark qualities to some different extents. But when we have this fault-finding nature, where we always want to see the dark side of things, we grab onto that. We gossip, we criticize, we try to bring people down. We find the dark thing in them and we try to drag them down. Kind of sounds like the Republican debates. Keep track so much. They're finding fault, bringing them down. And that's Sanika she found, is trying to grab the shadow and bring them down. But Hanuman taught us we have to get to the heart of it. We have to actually purify our own hearts. We can overcome that fault-finding tendency. And we take you to the process of devotion by this chanting of the holy names, by this kirtan. Our intention to actually purify our hearts and overcome and also resist this fault-finding tendency. And he continued to fly, and he came to Sri Lanka. And there were many other obstacles that happened. But when he saw this city, it was unbelievable. The types of military guards like the world has never seen. And they were massive, powerful, supernatural yogis. But they were evil. And they were guarding it in all directions. Hanuman was a yogi too, but he was pure and compassionate. Yogi means a pure person. But people can take the same powers that are available through that for other reasons. And the wealth that they accumulated, Hanuman was absolutely amazed. Incredible. How are we going to fight these people? And where is Sita? That was his fixed desire. I have to find her and give her this message. There was a huge city. And there were entire palaces made out of gold and ornamented with precious jewels. So Hanuman took a very small form. He took a very big form when he crossed the ocean. He took a very small form, and it was nighttime. Late at night. Most people were all sleeping. And he was just going house to house, searching for Sita. And Hanuman, he would see, he came to Ravana's house eventually. And there he saw Ravana himself, gigantic, incredible personality. And he saw rooms with so many ladies, hardly dressed, just sleeping all over the place. And he had to find Sita, and he never saw Sita before. How do you find someone you've never seen before? And it wasn't like today where you just showed them, showed a photo on his cell phone. There was no cameras, there was no photographs. He had to find her. And she could be any one of these people because they were all so beautiful. And they were hardly dressed. And he's a brahmachari, he's a sadhu. And he could not look at them because he had a mission. So he was just examining each one of them. This was Sita, and he was just fixed in his purpose. And then he saw lying right beside Ravana was somebody who was so beautiful with an effulgent golden complexion. And he was looking at her. Could this be Sita? But she looked really peaceful and happy. So he said, impossible. Sita would be in great distress because she's away from Ram, so this cannot be her. He was spending hours and hours looking at every window, going to every rooftop, just like a little tiny monkey, just searching. He couldn't find. And finally he came to a magnificent garden. He was on the wall, and he looked down, and he saw this most beautiful goddess sitting near a temple in a grove of Ashok trees. And she was weeping, crying, constantly chanting the names of Ram. This is Sita. But she was surrounded by massive, gruesome, cruel guards all around. So I had to reach her and give her the message. So Hanuman hid himself in a tree and just watched and waited. And when the sun rose, Ravana, like he did every morning, he woke up and went right to that place of Sita. And Hanuman was listening to every word he spoke, and he was really angry. But he was patient. Timing is very important when there's serious challenges. Ravana was speaking such romantic poetry to Sita. You are the most beautiful. I can't speak like Ravana. He was a master of his arts. He just misused them. You are the most beautiful, and you are the most charming, and you have the most irresistible qualities, and I am the most powerful person in the world, and now you're dirty because you won't bathe, and you're fasting, and you're not eating, and you're sitting here, and you're suffering, and you're crying day and night. Just be my queen, and you will be the prominent. I will be your servant. Everyone will be your servant. You will enjoy. I will give you everything forever. And Sita said, by you looking at me with your passionate glances, you don't know, but you are sticking needles in your eyeballs. That's a good example. By you wanting to enjoy me, it's like someone licking honey from the edge of a razor blade. She said, she was poetic. She said, I belong to Ram, my heart belongs to Ram. How could you be such a coward to take me away from my beloved Ram when he wasn't there? And he became really angry. He said, I tried to be nice to you. I've given you a chance. I'll never give you up. There's no possibility. If by the end of the year, and about 3/4 of the year was ended since she was kidnapped, he said, if by the end of this year you do not surrender to be my queen, then I will have my cooks chop you and fry you, and I will eat you for my breakfast. And he was really mad. And then he told all the guards, torture her, intimidate her, force her somehow or other to accept me. And then Ravana walked away. And they started, one of the guards had this incredibly sharp, gigantic spear. And she said, should I say all these things? Continue and have kirtan, or continue and talk?
Talk stories. Hanuman!
Okay, sorry. She said to Sita, with this sharp spear, I'm going to cut to pieces your heart, your liver, and your spleen, and then eat it today. And really a ferocious person too. And Sita was just laying in the ground, crying, Ram, Ram, and Hanuman was watching this. And he was totally broken-hearted. He was totally suffering, seeing Sita being treated this way. And at the same time, he was in ecstasy because he found her. And he wanted to jump on those guards, but he was only supposed to give a message. So after some time, they went away with this warning, if you don't surrender today, this is what we will do. When they went away, Sita was just laying on the ground crying Ram's name. And Vibhishan's wife, Vibhishan was the only true devotee in Sri Lanka, Ravana's brother. She came and told Sita, I had a dream last night. Ram is going to come and protect you. And Tridhata gave her a message. When everyone was gone, Hanuman was thinking, how can I convince her that I'm actually her devotee? Because if I just come, she's going to think I'm Ravana in disguise. So he made his plan. He remained completely hidden in the leaves of trees as a little monkey, a tiny monkey. And he was chanting Ram's life story in beautiful poetry, wonderful song about how Ram was born in Ayodhya and about how he spent his childhood and how he went to the forest with Vishwamitra, and he went in great detail about how he met Sita and how he was married to Sita and how they came back to Ayodhya together and how they were banished and how they lived so happily at Chitrakoot. And these are all intimate stories that Ram told him to tell. And how she was abducted. And then he told her things that she didn't know. How Ram was searching by foot with Lakshman throughout thousands of miles, going to forests and everywhere looking for Sita. And how he met Hanuman. And how Hanuman searched and how Hanuman jumped across the ocean. And now I am here as Ram's messenger. And she was looking. Where's this voice coming from? And she saw in the leaves of a tree, there was a little monkey talking. And then Hanuman jumped down. And she said, "You must be Ravana in the disguise and you're trying to fool me." And Hanuman said, "No." He explained who he was and why he was there, and then he took Ram's reign. And when he presented that ring to her, she knew he was truly Ram's messenger. She cried in love and took that ring and put it to her heart, pressed her heart. And Ram told Sita, Hanumanji told Sita that Ram is soon to come. And Sita explained what she was going through, and Hanuman said, "Just jump on my back and I will take you to Ram today." And he was only about this big. And she laughed. She said, "You're so tiny, how can I jump on your back?" And he grew really big. He said, "Now you jump on my back." And she said, "Hanuman, just give him this message. Because it would diminish the glory of my Ram if anyone else came to deliver me except him." And she said, "When you see Ram, tell him this very secret story that only the two of us know that took place in Chitrakoot." Would you like to hear the story? Yes. I know the story. But it's a secret story. So another time. And then Sita had a little cloth. And she unwrapped the cloth and there was a beautiful yellow jewel. She cried and said, "When you meet Ram, give him this jewel and tell him this story. He will know that you met me." Hanuman was so moved. Like Balarama went to Vrindavan to pacify the pains of the love and separation from the Brajavasis with Krishna's message and with gifts from Krishna. Similarly, Hanuman went to pacify Sita's love and separation with the gift of his ring and a message of his love. Briefly, Hanuman was so moved to see the supreme, unparalleled love of Sita's heart. He just wanted to surrender and serve her love for the Lord and the Lord's love for her. And he decided he wanted to meet Ravana face to face. So he started tearing apart that garden, which was really, Ravana was proud of that garden. He was tearing it apart, and Ravana heard about it, and Ravana sent all these armies and soldiers, and Hanuman single-handedly, just with a club, defeated them. And he sent some of his biggest generals, and they were defeated by Hanuman. finally he sent his son, Indrajit, the most powerful person practically in the universe. And he went to fight Hanuman. And it was really a good fight. But eventually, Indrajit, he shot an arrow with a celestial serpent, and it wrapped around Hanuman. And Hanuman allowed it to happen, and now he was captured, tied up, and was dragged into Ravana's the court where he would sit as king. And people were beating him and blasting on him and beating him and insulting him, and he was just accepting. Just patient. He was brought before Ravana. And Ravana started really chastising him for messing up his garden. Why are you, a monkey, messing up my garden? And he said, I'm the messenger of Ram. He said, if you just let Sita come back to Ram, Ram will give you protection and shelter forever. But if you don't, you will be destroyed. I'm giving you this chance. He was really speaking with compassion. Ram will forgive you for everything. You just return Sita. Ram was insulted by that and started scorching terrible words, insults against Hanuman, and said, kill him! Kill this wretched, useless monkey! And Vibhishan, Ravana's brother, he said, according to the codes of honor, you cannot kill a messenger. You could punish him, but you can't kill him. So Ravana, he said, monkeys are proud of their tails. Light it on fire and drag him through the streets, beating him with his blazing tail, and make a complete fool out of him in front of everyone, and let him be mutilated. And if the rare chance that he can survive is there, he'll be just completely useless. So they took massive quantities of cotton and wrapped it around his cotton cloth and wrapped it around his tail and dipped it, soaked it in oil and lit it on fire. It was a blazing fire. And then they dragged Hanuman. He was still tied up with these ropes. And they started beating him and taking him into public, and everyone was throwing rocks at him and spitting on him, you stupid monkey. And he was just run. And he did that for a while, and at a certain point, he saw what a beautiful opportunity. Now, to be set on fire is a crisis. But he was thinking, every situation, how can I serve in this situation? Seeking you will find. If you're looking for opportunities to serve, you'll be really enthusiastic in any situation. But if you're just seeing the situation without that, then you really get depressed. So he was, how can I serve getting beaten and spit on and rocks and being set on fire in my body? Yes, I can serve in this situation. So suddenly he became real small, and he slipped out of the ropes, and he jumped up and said, Jairam! And went to the roof of one of the palaces. And with his tail, he touched it. The whole palace went on fire. Then he jumped to the next, because monkeys jump really good. He went to the next palace. And soon a large portion of the entire city of Sri Lanka was blazing on fire. And people were screaming, and they didn't know what to do. It was completely uncontrollable. But Ravana's palace, fire could not affect it. Ravana was just watching. There's nothing anyone could do. And after just burning the city, and somebody informed Sita in the Ashokvan garden that Hanuman's tail is on fire. She prayed to Agni, the presiding deity of fire, and prayed, he's doing this for me. Like a mother prays for her child, she prayed, please let him feel no heat and no pain. So as Hanuman had his tail, by this time it was a massive fire blazing on his tail. It was cool and refreshing and enjoyable. And he was wondering, how is fire cool? And then he was thinking in his heart, it's because Sita's praying for me. And then he jumped upon a mountain and he called out in a roaring voice, Ravana and all your family, I'm just a very insignificant little servant of the servant of the servant of Ram. And you see what I have done? Release Sita, or Ram will come himself, and your entire dynasty will be gone. And then he jumped to the ocean, put his tail out of, and then jumped across the ocean, and ultimately came back to the cave where Ram was. And he told the whole story in great detail. And Ram was listening. And he told that secret story. And Ram kept asking him to tell it again and again and again. And everything he was saying that Sita told him, Ram just wanted to hear again and again and again. And Ram was weeping in celebration of love from his beloved. And Hanuman, he was sharing that love in the most intimate way of service to accommodate, to facilitate. It's divine feeling, true compassion. That Hanuman presented to Ram the yellow jewel. Ram pressed it to his heart and cried. He said, this jewel belonged to Indra. And Indra gave this jewel to Janak, Sita's father. And at the time of our marriage, Janak presented this jewel as a gift to Sita. And she would wear it in her hair, just to make me pleased, to make me happy. Ram was remembering Sita and his heart was flooding with affection. And he said, Hanuman, what you have done for me, I'm living in the forest, I have nothing to give you to reward you. The only thing I have is my heart, my own self. And I give you my very life in my embrace. And Ram embraced Hanuman and wept, cried. There was nothing else in the universal creation that Hanuman wanted but to please his Lord. Samsiddhya Haritoshima. I'll end with a simple analogy. Lord Chaitanya, who was Ram himself? Krishna himself. He came to this world and he told one of his devotees, Haridas Thakur, He said, my heart breaks to see all the living beings in this world who are identifying as only being these bodies that will die and are subject to so much pain, and only identifying with these minds which are so vulnerable to all sorts of anxieties and distress and pleasure and pain and honor and dishonor and victory and defeat and success and failure. The nature of their souls is to be ananda, in ecstasy. We are there, Sachin Ananda. To be tasting Krishna's love forever and sharing that love with each other. My heart breaks to see they're my children. And Haridas Thakur said to Lord Chaitanya, like Hanuman, he said, but you've come in the form of your name to bring them back to their natural condition, to their true home within their hearts. So you see, each and every one of us, in our own little ways, we could be like Hanumans, delivering the message. Like Sita was in separation of Ram and she was in such distress. The people of this world in separation from God, from their own hearts and their own love for God, are in such a difficult situation. But we have a message. The Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the great scriptures of the world are the messages of God. And if we understand the true essence of true compassion, we could deliver the jewel of those messages, the jewel of God's names, to bring each other back. And for the purpose of sharing this message with each other, this jewel, Sita's jewel, of her love for Ram, Ram's ring, love for Sita, to share that jewel with each other and to share with New York City and New York State and the United States of America and the Earth planet and the universe. That's what we're kind of trying to do at the Bhakti Center. When Prabhupada came to 26th Avenue 50 years ago, he had this Purushartha Siromani, the most beautiful jewel of love of God, that he just wanted to share with everyone. It's a messenger. So on this beautiful day or night, under the full moon, let us have one lesson. Time. And I thank you very much. You sound so tired.
The melody of Vrindavan.
Would you like to dance?
Yes.
Hanuman was famous for dancing. And Balarama danced with gopies. Very good night for dancing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna
together, please, with our whole hearts very loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, please raise your arms very high. One more time. Everyone. Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Thank you very much.